Lee Fields is arguably the greatest soul singer alive today. His prolific career spans 5 decades, more than 20 albums, and over 40 singles, and he continues to reign supreme in the modern soul scene. His latest album, Sentimental Fool, reunites him with Daptone Records and is a return to his blues and R&B roots. Sentimental Fool was produced by Gabriel Roth, who also collaborated and produced Lee's classic 1998 funk and soul album, Let's Get a Groove On. In addition to this new album, Lee Fields also has a new documentary titled Faithful Man, which follows his remarkable life and musical journey. It is an honor to welcome to KUVO, Mr. Lee Fields. All right, Mr. Lee Fields, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great.
You doing good?
Yeah, feeling great.
Well, we really appreciate you coming in and
I appreciate you guys having me as well.
Spending time. I want to start with your beginnings. You were born and raised in Wilson, North Carolina.
Right.
Listened to radio on a little radio transistor or
Right.
listen to music. Your parents were your whole family, heavily involved in the church, but on the weekends I read that they ran a speakeasy.
Yeah, sure did.
Talk to me about your childhood growing up in North Carolina.
Well, I got the chance to see both sides of, the religious aspect and the secular aspect. Like on the weekends when Daddy and Mama used to open the house up as a speakeasy and see the people dancing and having a good time and using language that I wouldn't say on this radio station.
Right.
But we were supposed to have been asleep anyway. They put us to bed early, and when Mama come in, we closed our eyes like we would sleep. But there was no way we were going to miss out on to see what they're going to do tonight.
Right.
And so they were just like adults doing, having a good time, partying. Daddy was playing Jimmy Reed and all of the blues songs at the time, and a few of the pop songs like at the time it was a country western record. It was out Walking the Floor Over You, and he was playing everything that was current. And Sunday we had to get dressed, shine our shoes and stuff, and go to church. Then when I would get into the church house, I would see the women, mainly the women, they would have their hands up in the air, and I was looking up too. I was trying to see what they were looking at. They looked like they were talking to somebody and saying something. But when I looked up, the only thing I saw was the ceiling, And I was trying to make out what were they saying. I saw, and it was some of the same women that would be at the
speakeasy the night before.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then the preacher would come out, and Reverend Cotton would come out, and when he touched the ladies, man, they would fall on the floor. They would fall on the floor, man, like they was going through some changes. When I saw him, he was coming close to me, I said, please don't be touching me. Because, hey, man, it was all a mystery to me, man. I was out of it, man. I really didn't know what to think. But later on, when I came to awareness about religions, because Mama used to have the picture of this guy that's long hair on the wall in the house, and everywhere you go in the house, man, you see his picture. But what amazed me, the picture of the guy, he was like a Caucasian. Right. And at the time, the Ku Klux Klans was riding by the house all the time, burning crosses. And that confused me, because I didn't understand, why are you worshiping? They look just like these people. And they coming out here burning crosses, and when you're walking down the highway throwing rocks and stuff at you. I couldn't understand, man. I was totally, my childhood was very, very, very confusing. But I made sense of it. I believe that there's a God. I believe the Bible is real, but I put no image on God. I think people saw God. Every person saw God as they saw the Christ. I think the Christ came to people as they saw him. So, but I believe every word of that book is true. And what I wanted to be out there after all of that, people in my neighborhood at the time, people of color had nothing. And I was wondering why don't we have something? It seemed like I couldn't understand why we was hated so much. Then I wanted to be a businessman, so I got a paper route when I moved to Wilson. I called myself a businessman. I was making about $30 a week. That wasn't bad. At the time, my daddy was only making 100, and he was working all overtime and everything. So I helped Mama out with some bills and stuff. But basically, that's how my life started. It started out with the secular music and with the religious music. It's always been that in my life, and it still is today. I put God first, which I have no image, because I think God is total intellect. I think in the beginning, there was nothing. And no thing is God. God is the absence of all things. God is the knowledge. It's the all-knowing. And we were created in the peripheral of this knowledge. So in the beginning, God is not material. Can't be. And then we're going to go asking that question, well, what made it? Nothing made it. God is the absence of all things. God is the container of all things. God is all-knowing. So I live with that.
When you were growing up down there and you were being exposed to both secular music and the music of the church, when was it when you opened your mouth to realize that you were given that gift by God to sing like you do?
Well, actually, as I said, my goal was to be a businessman. And one night we went to attend a talent show at the Reed Street Community Center. And a friend of mine, he knew I sang because we had just contemplated on getting a band after the Beatles. We saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, man, and I was like starstruck. I want to be a Beatle, with the high-heel boots. And he knew that I sang, and he dared me to go on stage. So I registered, and I went on stage, and I sang. That was my first time ever singing in public. And the girls went crazy, and the band offered me $50 a night back in this is like 65, 64. $50 a night was a lot of money because I did 3 nights. I was making more money than my dad was making. So I said, well, business-wise, this is a good business proposition there. So I'm going to sing. So that's what got me into singing. It was practical. It was a no-brainer. If I'm making $30 a week carrying papers and I can make $150 a week singing, that's not it doesn't take an Einstein to figure out that.
So once you did the talent show, then you kind of said, I'm going to head north for this. I'm going to get up to New York City. And around 1967 is when you saw James Brown in New York City. What was that experience like when you first saw James Brown?
Well, actually, I saw James Brown at the Reed Street Community Center. I didn't see the show that night, but I went to see the sound check. He was playing drums. But he looked a little different because at that time, most black entertainers had to wear a lot of heavy makeup, because from his pictures and stuff, I thought he was a real bright-skinned guy. But when I saw him, he was just as dark as me. And I said, is that James? He was playing drums. He had the hairstyle and had this leather coat on. And he had that smile. I said, that's him. But it took me a few minutes to grasp that was James. But then after the years passed by, I understood why all the makeup that he was wearing back in those days. But it was my first time seeing him. And I was starstruck, no doubt. Because I saw him in the T.A.M.I show. And he was so magnificent. And then seeing him live, which I didn't see the show that night, but I saw enough of James Brown to know that was him. Because James at the time, man, it didn't take but a couple of minutes to see that guy. You knew he was the guy, you know. So that stuck with me for a lot of years. And then I got a chance to meet him later. When in '73, I had a #2 record down in Augusta. So his radio station brought me down to do shows, me and ZZ Hill. So when I got a chance to meet him and listen to him talk for a while. But other than that, man, he was a great influence. I think he influenced everybody.
And leading you to be kind of referred to as Little JB just because of your striking vocal similarity to him, but you are completely your own original voice. Walk me through that kind of 70s funk and soul scene and working like Kool and the Gang. And, what was when you kind of got into your own thing going into that 70s? You said that kind of when disco came around at the end of the 70s, that's really what kind of threw things off for you, right?
I think the greatest thing that happened to me was when disco arrived. It made me realize that everything is subject to change. So it made me pay more attention to the music, what people are lacking, what they gravitate to. So if I don't make a song with the same kind of instrumentation, but the words and everything is going to be there, you know. So it made me pay more attention to my changing environment, musical environment. For an artist to survive out here in this musical world, they have to be very, very focused on the subtle changes. The subtle changes, all of a sudden you look around, everything has changed. But it changed so unnoticeable until the next thing you know, man, there's a whole nother music out there. Right. You know? So it made me pay close attention to what is happening.
And then you spent a period of time there where you kind of walked away from music altogether, and you were managing properties, but dealing with real estate and stuff like that. What was that spark that said, you know what, I need to get back in the game?
The wife, the part when I was totally into real estate, we had accumulated a certain amount of money, and we decided on what we're going to do with this money. And the wife said, I think you should go back into music. I said, baby, listen, everything done changed out there. She insisted that I go back into music. And so we bought equipment. I bought everything I thought I would need. I bought a computer. I bought, and this was a voyeur program. At that time, the new modern day programs, they weren't invented. It was just voyeur as far as I could find. So it was doing the same thing, but it was a lot more basic than the modern stuff they have today. So when I went down to my basement and tried to read all of these books and stuff to find out how it worked, man, I was just totally lost. I said to myself, I think I stepped over my boundaries. And so a friend of mine that knew about this, I told him what I had. He said, I'll be able to help you. And he came over and he showed me how to hook up my Tascam tape with my computer by a MIDI signal. He showed me how to operate the timbrels. You know, they had little boxes with all kind of drums and horns and everything in it. He showed me how to work all of that. And although I'm not a great pianist, but with the computer program, you can slow things down and do it like you want to do it. So when I started cutting records down there, and I cut this record called Meet Me Tonight. That was a big blues record. It was in 1990. It was a big blues record, jukebox. I didn't get no radio play. Right. But I put it like this. I was working everywhere from New York all the way down to Jackson, Mississippi, to Mobile, Alabama, Atlanta, all of the southern states, Little Rock, Arkansas, Pine Bluff. I was working everywhere on the blues concert. Man, that people love that record. You go to a juke joint, you put a quarter of a dollar in there, and you play at one time, and you walk out. You come back in there another day or so, somebody playing that record. It was one of those kind of records. So I worked on that record. It's on the blues circuit in the early 90s all the way to the late 90s. And I really enjoyed that blues circuit, but it's a lot of everybody wants to be their greatest. So it's a lot of stuff that goes on in the blues world. And then this guy contacted me, Martin Solveig. He said, I heard your voice on some record. I'd like to get you to sing a song for me. It was called Everybody. So I took him up on it. He came to New York and we cut the record. Next thing I know, in the early 2000s, the record was a hit all over France and Germany and Russia and all of the European countries, sovereign states. It was like, man, you walking down the street, man, you hear it all the time. It was on the TV shows, everything was like hot. So now I catch myself, now I'm a blues singer, here I am now singing house music. I couldn't believe that, man. I be saying to myself, every night I go out there and say, Lee, hey, man, just do what you do, you know? So when I'm singing a song, people like going crazy. And I did that for about 5 years with Martin. And then I'm still working with Neil and the Sugarman 3, Neil Sugarman, the Sugarman 3.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
So we'd be over there doing shows in Europe, man, and I go to the hotel at night, and I'm seeing the video of myself pumping all over the video singing house music. So it was like a confusing thing. But I was busy. And thank God I could say I've been busy up until today.
Because what's I think great about you is you have these generations pass and you keep managing to stay up and introduce yourself to newer audiences, whether it's the original blues and soul, then going into house music in the early 90s when it was still kind of new, and then now with this kind of soul revival that's happening with a lot of these daptone artists like Sharon Jones and Charles Bradley. So you've been able to not really reinvent, you've always been yourself, but people have been able to catch on to what you're doing that crosses generations. And a lot of this is kind of covered in this new documentary called Faithful Man. Talk to me about how this documentary started, and how you decided to kind of put your whole 50-year, not just your music career, but your whole life story down on film for people to see.
Well, the documentary started. Jasmine, young lady out of New York, called me and she wanted to talk to me about doing a documentary. And so her and Joyce came out to the house and they started filming. It started from filming, me and the wife walking the dog and stuff, talking. And I decided to go in the garage. That's where I had my stuff set up at. And I sung a song for him. What was the song? Anyway, I sang a song for them. And from that moment, I sang. It was just 1 week after another week, and they might disappear for maybe a month or so, and they right back at it. And it took 10 years. And they've been at it for 10 years. They've been determined to get this documentary out there. And I really don't know what they saw because to me, I have nothing fantastic to tell about my life other than the fact that what I just told you. But they was adamant about it. They were consistent and they were very persistent in finishing this documentary. And one day, not too long ago, I get a call and said the documentary is finished. And then I've been going to a lot of showings, and I've been in the theater talking to the people. And I'm still fascinated because people find the documentary intriguing. That's what they say. And to me, I mean, it was just a regular.
It's just your life.
Yeah, just a regular thing.
Well, I think it's
But
great.
I'm thankful now.
Yeah.
Don't think 1 minute that I'm not thankful now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Bob.
Were you able to did you have archived footage and things that you had to kind of go down memory lane and be like, do I have any record of this so that we can put it in? Did you?
Oh, yeah, what I did was, like, my wife's sister, Gail, was slain by her husband in 77, I believe that was the year. And we decided to get a motion camera because so many moments that we wish we would have had of her. We could tell people about the way she was, but if they would have seen her in a motion setting, we wouldn't have to say a word. They would realize how bubbly such a bubbly personality and such a wonderful person she was. So after her husband killed her and killed himself, we end up raising their one and only son, which is Dale. And so we bought the camera and we just decided to take a lot of pictures. So we had a lot of footage because we realized when she died how precious those moments were. And if you didn't have them in some sort of archive, they're gone forever. So we used a lot of footage from the films that I used to make at the family. And I'm so thankful that we did. And this whole documentary, man, has turned out to be such a joy for people finding interest in our little small lives, you know what I'm saying? So, and they find it amusing and it brings me joy because those moments were so precious. And if somebody else think that they're precious, hey, it's icing on the cake.
Yeah, Faithful Man is the new documentary about Lee Fields and his extraordinary career and life as a musician. The new album is called Sentimental Fool. It kind of reunites you with Gabriel Roth, who was one of the you guys had worked together many years ago. You kind of stripped it back, got down just to the roots. You're going to be playing tonight at Cervantes Masterpiece Ballroom with Monophonics and Kendra Morris. I just can't thank you enough for taking the time to come in.
Thank you so much for interviewing me. Your kindness would never be lost.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fields. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.